So MatPat has accused Defy Media of stealing $1.7 million from him and 50 other YouTubers for whom they were acting as MCN, and the internet has exploded.
Here's the thing about that though.
First things first, for those of you who don't know me, I am Viva Frei, a Montreal litigator turned YouTuber. I've been making YouTube videos for almost 5 years. One of the themes I have are called law vlogs, VLAWGS, where I break down and explain in terms that are easy enough for non-lawyers to understand things that are happening in the legal world. MatPat has accused an MCN called Defy Media of having stolen $1.7 million from him and 49 or 50 other YouTube channels for whom Defy Media was acting as MCN. Now, some of you might be asking, what's an MCN? Good question. MCN is the acronym for what are known as multi-channel networks. They're basically like managers or agencies that represent your channel as a whole. They take care of third-party video licensing, brand deals, copyright-free music. They're supposed to pair the most appropriate ads with your videos on YouTube to maximize your ADSENSE revenue. And if you're a big enough YouTube, they can even negotiate television shows for you. In consideration for the services they render, they take a percentage of the revenue generated from your channel. This includes ADSENSE. So they will take upwards of 50% of your ADSENSE revenue in exchange for the services they provide. How do MCNs get paid? The short answer is first. MCNs get paid by getting the ADSENSE revenue directly from YouTube. YouTube pays the ADSENSE revenue to the MCN. The MCN applies its percentage of the cut and then remits the balance to the content creator or the YouTube channel. Now, this is industry standard. Any alternative is absolutely impractical. MCNs will have hundreds, thousands of clients. They are not going to go run after each and every client for their percentage of the ADSENSE revenue. Now, what happened with MatPat and the other 50 YouTube channels for whom Defy Media was acting as MCN? In 2018, Defy Media basically closed its doors. It laid off its employees and it ceased operations. The only problem from the perspective of MatPat and the other YouTube creators is that they had received monies from YouTube that they had not yet remitted to MatPat and the others before they closed their doors. Hence, they stole $1.7 million from him and the other 50 channels for whom Defy was acting as MCN. Now, a word of caution here. As a lawyer, I always told my clients to never publicly accuse anyone of a criminal act because it could constitute defamation. As an individual, I try to avoid accusatory terms that sort of presuppose an intent. There is a difference between not getting paid and getting stolen from. And it's this aspect of MatPat's video that sort of misunderstands, oversimplifies, and doesn't accurately represent bankruptcy law and what happens when companies go out of business. When a company files for bankruptcy or bankruptcy protection, you have what is referred to as a trustee who comes in and takes control. If the company has gone bankrupt, the trustee takes control of what is called the estate of the company. Let's take Defy as a concrete example. A trustee will come in and say, who owes money to Defy? What are Defy's assets? How much money do they have in their bank accounts? The trustee will put together a list of assets, and they will also put together a list of the creditors. Who does Defy owe money to? Now, in his video, MatPat qualifies what Defy did as stealing because it was never their money that YouTube passed to them. It was my money. YouTube remitted it to them, and they never remitted it to me. Now, it's a very sensitive issue to the person who has not gotten paid for the work they have done, but in a sense, Matt is no different than any other unpaid creditor. This happens a lot in bankruptcy. Creditors go unpaid. Suppliers go unpaid. Landlords go unpaid. And what happens to them? They become one of many creditors in a long list of creditors in the bankruptcy of the company. Did Defy Media steal from them? Was Defy Media just unable to pay them because of poor management of the business? Now, in his video, MatPat describes MCNs and Defy Media as Ponzi schemes. And this is essentially inaccurate because Ponzi schemes, by definition, require new investors in order to pay the old investors what was promised to them in order to become investors. MCNs are legitimate businesses. They are, in theory, intended to maximize revenue for their clients, and they do so by faithfully and competently providing the services they promise to provide. You may have a bad MCN that doesn't deliver any value. You may have a good MCN that delivers value. You may have a good MCN that just goes bankrupt. And if they go bankrupt owing you money, it's unfortunate, but you become a creditor in the list of creditors that are going to divvy up what is left of the estate of the bankrupt. And this is how we get into bankruptcy law, which is confusing even to seasoned lawyers. In bankruptcy, you have unsecured creditors, which are the everyday people who provide supplies, services, etc., and you have secured creditors. creditors. And secured creditors are typically big lending institutions, banks, occasionally landlords who guarantee payment of their rent with security of the business. But a company will not just let any creditor become a secured creditor. There has to be a special relationship between that creditor and the company that would warrant that type of relationship. So in this situation, Defy Media is, if it's not bankrupt now, it's certainly under bankruptcy protection, or it's going to go bankrupt. MatPat and the other YouTubers for whom Defy was acting as MCN are going to become ordinary creditors in the estate of the bankruptcy, which means that after the secured creditors get paid, whatever's left in the piggy bank of the bankrupt company is going to get divvied up, prorated among all of the creditors, YouTubers, suppliers, etc. I, as a lawyer, have had a few clients go bankrupt and stiff me on paying the bill for the services I had rendered. I wouldn't qualify it as theft per se, because that would sort of presuppose that I know they knew they were never going to be able to pay me while they continued to ask me to render services. I suspect that might have been the case in one or two situations, but I don't know for certain. And the reality is that in business, companies go bankrupt, creditors get screwed, and that's just the world of business. I'm not saying it's right, it's just the way it is. You can try to protect yourself, and MatPat has 4 points at the end of his video as to how people can protect themselves, but they are, in reality, totally implausible requests that no MCN is possibly going to accept.
Don't accept anything other than 100% pass-through of your ad revenue.
That is to say, all the revenue that you generate from your channel goes to you first, and then the MCN gets its cut. It's never going to happen. With the volume of clients that MCN and video licensing agencies, and agencies in general, serve, by and large, unless you are the biggest YouTuber celebrity in the world, they are not going to let their thousands of clients get paid first, and then worry about chasing down their clients for their own percentage. It's just not going to happen. So the piece of advice that MatPat is giving is actually just going to be a deal breaker for any MCN, for any agency, for any creator.
Get it explicitly stated in your contract that your ADSENSE will be kept in a separate trust account, one that's away from the rest of the business's money, that is solely dedicated to paying out creators.
Demand that your ADSENSE will be kept in a separate trust account. Good advice in theory, absolutely impractical, deal breaker in reality. As a lawyer, we have to set up a trust account for all of our clients, and occasionally individual trust accounts for individual clients, depending on the nature of our trust agreement with the client. And setting up a trust account is not just like opening a bank account and depositing money in it. You have to have a trust agreement. If there's a dispute with the monies in a trust account, the monies can't go out of the trust account until that dispute is resolved. Imagine an MCN trying to run a business when every time a client is not happy, they contest a payment and the MCN is unable to take the monies out of trust because there's a dispute over those monies being held in trust.
Make sure it's written expressly in the contract that should anything happen to the company, you can leave immediately.
Make sure that you have an out is a good piece of advice. The only caveat to that is when a company files for bankruptcy protection, people with contracts with that company cannot just up and leave. The company is sort of frozen in that state until they can sort of rearrange their assets. If every company pulled their contract from a company that filed for bankruptcy protection would never succeed because the companies would always go bankrupt because anyone doing business with them would up and run at the first chance they got. Typically, the MCN video licensing agreement contracts have an out. You have to give a certain notice before canceling your contract, after which you can sort of take back your channel, take back your videos. But to have an out that provides for an out in the event of bankruptcy or an insolvency, typically those clauses don't hold up because they would undermine the very essence and the raison d'etre of bankruptcy and insolvency laws and protections. MatPat got screwed. The other YouTube channels got screwed, but so did every other creditor to whom Defy Media owes money. And again, there is a difference between bad business management and theft. It may very well be that the people at Defy Media milked the company for all the money, paid themselves before anybody else, transferred the money into offshore accounts. That would probably qualify as theft. Or at the very least, as we call it in bankruptcy law, preferential payments. That is to say, payments made to non-arm's length people to prioritize them over ordinary creditors. Dividends declared when the company was insolvent. Directors paying themselves when they can't pay their suppliers can oftentimes be a cause to force those monies to be put back into the pot of the company to be divvied out among the creditors.
Make sure there are penalties in place should they ever be late on a payment or miss a payment.
Put penalties in your agreement with your MCN or video licensing agency? Good luck. And I say good luck cynically. It's just not gonna happen. It's the reality of the relationship between the parties. It would only work with someone with 11 million subscribers who is bringing so much value to the table that the MCN or video licensing agency is prepared to make that type of concession. But it is totally impractical with the thousands of clients that MCNs and video licensing agencies have to put these pieces of advice into a working business relationship. It just won't happen. And so as practical as they may be for Game Theory, PewDiePie, Casey Neistat, the channels with tens of millions of subscribers, they are non-starters for the hoi polloi like me. One aspect of the video where I have a lot of sympathy for MatPat is his feeling of having been burnt and not being able to trust anybody anymore. When you witness firsthand, and I won't qualify it as illegal, theft, stealing, but when you see how in business people don't think twice before screwing the little people, it makes you cynical. And MatPat, imagine after this one incident, you're cynical. I spent 10 plus years in commercial litigation where this was all I saw on a daily basis, day in, day out. I only came into play when the proverbial stuff hit the fan, when everyone was fighting, and that was my conditioning. I've seen hundreds of ways for people to get screwed. I've seen hundreds of ways for siblings to fight with each other. I've seen people fight over millions of dollars when they have millions of dollars to fight over, and I've seen people fight over $30,000 just because they had nothing else to fight over. It does make you cynical. It does make you question every business relationship you walk into. But the reality is that you do have to protect yourself at all times. And like I've said in previous law vlogs, more important than the best contracts in the world are knowing and trusting your business partners. MatPat, it's not because something's in writing that you're not going to fight over it. You can have a 30-page contract. There is just more in there to fight over. Good relationships are better than the greatest contract. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. See you on the flip side, Dude Meisters. But what the heck?